So we'll start with a small prayer, Sahana Vavatu, and then Guru Brahma, and then continue with catching on with the fire. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I'm sure everybody sitting here has heard about Bhagavad Gita. Can you all hear me? Should I increase my volume? Yes? No? You're comfortable? Okay, good. So everybody sitting here has definitely heard more than once Bhagavad Gita. What is the difference between Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavat? They are two similar sounding scriptures that we hear. What is the difference between these two main scriptures? And both have prominently, they keep revolving around Bhagavan Krishna. Hence, therefore, the confusion. One, they sound similar. Second, it is about something which revolves around Bhagavan Krishna. Bhagavat means that which is about the Lord. About the Lord, about the devotees of the Lord. So the chronicles of, not Narnia, but chronicles of all the stories of the Lord put together, compiled together is Bhagavat. Whereas Bhagavad Gita is the message directly given by the Lord Himself. Now, as a Hindu, if somebody asks us what is our scripture, what would be our, or what should be our answer? What should be our answer? Gita, Brahma Sutra and Upanishads. Siddharth? Gita. Any one of those? Name one. The Vedas. The answer basically should be Vedas. That's a main text, and from there are the various auxiliary scriptures. And one of the definitions of the Vedas, they are given by the Lord Himself. They are given by the Lord to His successors. There is a lineage of successors. Of various such scriptures that were given, Bhagavad Gita stands in a very beautiful cusp. The rest of the scriptures like Upanishads were probably given in some solitude, in some cave, in some forest. That's why some of them are called Aranyaka. Aranya means forest. Brihadaranyaka was given in the forest. Some probably in a Gurukul or in some cave. But whereas the uniqueness of Bhagavad Gita is, it is given on the battlefield. A unique perspective to bring the knowledge and wisdom of the Upanishads right in that field of activity. Field of activity, and in this particular case was the battlefield. This particular scripture or particular episode of dialogue between Bhagavan Krishna and Arjuna happens in an epic, and the epic is Mahabharata. Mahabharata is the story of about 7 generations, starting from Shantanu, that is when it is captured, all the way till Janamejaya. Now, who are these characters? We'll come back later. I'm just giving you a generic information. Somewhere in the middle, there are these Pandavas and Kauravas. How many were the Pandavas? Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata. Oh, so you know. So who are they? Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula and Sahadeva. So 5 of them. That's why they are called Pancha Pandava. And don't ask me the list of Kaurava's names. The whole 1 hour will be spent on that. But the main one are Duryodhana and Dushyasana. How many were they? 101. These 100 had one sister. Her name was Suschala or Duschala. So total they were 101 siblings together. Probably could make about 10 volleyball teams within the family. Between these Kauravas and Pandavas, there was constantly a rivalry. There was a huge rivalry right since their birth. Because in those days, the law that stated that one of the sibling who is able-bodied will rule the kingdom. And that was King Pandu, whereas his older brother was born blind. It was Dhritarashtra. But Dhritarashtra always had in his mind, his heart always felt that suffocation, that this should have been my opportunity, this should have been my right to rule this kingdom. But that which was mine, because I've been born blind, I did not get this opportunity to rule this kingdom. Therefore, this goes to Pandu. And because Pandu is the king, his children will get to be the kings. They will be relishing, they will be enjoying. So right since the birth of his children, he trained them, he nourished them with this idea that this actually should belong to you. One way or the other, make sure that you grab this opportunity. And he helped them every which way to make sure that this kingdom was always relished by his children. As they say, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And whatever are the vibrations and impressions that Dhritarashtra left in Hastinapura of this necessity to hold on to the throne, that vibration still continues. That whoever gets to be today we don't have the throne, but we have the Prime Minister, and it's about like the same lineage of the family continues even after 60 years of independence? I'd call that as the wrong vibration or the negative vibration left by Dhritarashtra still continues. And you know what does Dhritarashtra mean? Dhritarashtra means the one who is holding on. to that which does not belong to you, Rashtra. Rashtra means kingdom. That which does not, you are holding on to it unrightfully. Such one is called Dhritarashtra. Why is he holding on to it? Because he is blind. Therefore, he is holding on to it. At least he was physically blind. Many of us are intellectually blind. Can I request the paparazzi to sit? I'm just thinking like, she'll sit now. She'll like and continue. She'll sit. Sorry. Okay. So Dhritarashtra means the one who is holding on to something unrightfully because he is both intellectually and physically blind. Duryodhana and his friends and his siblings, his siblings, constantly bring in this inequality to make sure that Pandavas do not get what is rightfully theirs. So there has been this rivalry right since young age. And they have tried eliminating Pandavas in every opportunity that they had. They tried poisoning them, they tried killing them, they tried drowning them, they tried burning them. All elements are covered, I guess. So they tried every which method to make sure that they could eliminate. Finally, they give them a piece of land which was uninhabitable. But they turned it around and called it Indraprastha. They turned it around and made it a livable piece of land. It's something like the forefathers drove away the Native Americans into the swamplands. Similarly, these Pandavas were drove into it was a swampland, and that land was transformed by these Pandavas, and they called it Indraprastha. And they were flourishing. So if they are always competing. Hastinapura was the older part of the kingdom, but people, instead of coming and investing in that kingdom, they started coming and investing in Indraprastha. So they said, as long as Pandavas rule and exist in Indraprastha, we will not have our upper hand. So Shakuni helps them lose Indraprastha. And in that there is series of mistakes that are committed from both sides. So the story of Mahabharata is not to prove that Pandavas were nobler, greater, purer than the Kauravas. If you look at the story, there is equal amount of mistakes committed by both Pandavas and Kauravas. Can you name some mistakes done by the Pandavas? See, when a king, as a royal challenge is thrown across, you cannot but accept the challenge. That's one of the rules. So accepting that game of dice was fine. There's nothing wrong with it. What was wrong is, as in Mahabharata, the story, the very beautiful question that Draupadi puts when she is dragged in front of everybody. She asks one question and nobody has an answer for it. Is, did he lose himself first and then bet me, or did he bet me first and then lose himself? If he has already lost himself and his brothers, what right does he have to bet me in the game? And everybody is quite silent. But according to the rules, what they had signed, what do you call today's language, a contract or a MOU, Yudhishthira did not read the finer print. The finer print said that they have to leave the kingdom for 12 years and then spend 1 year incognito. They have to be invisible, they cannot be traced. And if during this 1 year of incognito, if they are found, they'll have to repeat another set of 12 years and 1 year. So what were the Kauravas betting on? The 12 years, let them go wherever they want. Let's keep track of where their movements are. And the 13th year, find them out. In that way, it's a very costly game of hide and seek.
What other mistakes you were asking? What other mistakes did the Pandavas outside of losing control?
Each one of them did a lot of mistakes individually. So Bhima participates in the war not because it is righteous, but he has to take care of his vengeance. That was his mistake. That must be your neighbor. It turned on about 10 minutes ago. They have a very funny situation. The neighbor there, if they turn lights off, it turns off here. If they turn fan there on, it turns on here. Oh, it's not Siddharth, it's another. Oh, it's your house?
No, I don't know. No, I
Okay, there's one more then. There's no ghost here. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, getting back. So Kunti had a mistake that without realizing what was brought in, to say that all 5 brothers share it. The other 4 brothers' mistake was when they were being pledged in that game of dice, they should have put their foot down and saying that this is wrong. Okay, they did not say a word when they were being pledged into that game. They should have at least stood up when Draupadi was being pledged. Okay, Draupadi was pledged and they did not stand up for it. They should have at least stopped when Duryodhana asked Dushyasana to go in and bring her down. Instead of bringing her down, he literally pulls her down with her hair, almost dragging her in. They should have stood up. So there are lots of things that they should stand up for, but they don't. Regretfully, they don't. So Pandavas and Kauravas, when Kauravas' list is little higher, that any kind of atrocities that a mafia or a thug can be performing, they had legalized the entire process. And that's how they survived. So it's not to say that these were good, these were bad. But the point to understand in Mahabharata is, both of them have committed mistakes. One had the courage to accept the mistakes that they have done and look forward in purifying, changing themselves and to grow strong in life. And the others, which are the Kauravas, refuse to accept their set of mistakes. So on the 13th year, I'm giving you this background so that you understand why there was a war. Why was their situation catching on fire? That there was a necessity for war. And if that war was understood to be inevitable, why did Arjuna psychologically break in that war? And how is it relevant in our day-to-day life, in our life? This is the background that has to be understood to cherish what is given in Bhagavad Gita. So in the 13th year, it is said that wherever Yudhishthira was living, there are some people with lot of good intentions. Just having their blessings is more than sufficient. Those people who have good intentions. Therefore, when you find an opportunity to be with elders, to be with guru, to be with your parents, when you find an opportunity to take their blessings, seek their blessings carries. They may not be, great tapaswins or people with great powers, but their intentions carry such purity that there is nothing malice about their intention. That ashirvad or that blessings carries forth a lot of energy in it, positive energy. One such pure intented person was Yudhishthira. There were a couple of mistakes that he had done in his life, and he had accepted it, and he was trying to work his way through. But one thing that could have been observed is wherever Yudhishthira lived, that entire vicinity, that entire range around him had good crops, good produce, good rains, timely rains. And there was that pleasantness all over, which could be very easily seen. So the Duryodhana and his team had spread across all different parts of the nation. Now Bharata Varsha is all the way from Kandahar. Kandahar is where? Afghanistan. So the western frontiers of Afghanistan, Mongolia, Burma, Bhutan, Bangladesh it was divided just about 60 years ago. So this entire thing, he spread his spies around. They said 12 years, just take the geographical data as to how timely the rains are, what kind of produce, is there famine or not. Because of the 13th year, wherever you find regularized system of everything happening seamlessly, smoothly, it will give us an idea, referring back to 12 years of data, as to where these Pandavas are hiding. So there was a strategy in place. But these Pandavas very beautifully trick themselves into the system of the king in Ekachakrapura. And having gotten into that system, they avoid getting tracked. On a technicality, Shakuni says that they identified the Pandavas with 2.5 hours to spare for the day to change. That's a close call. That day when they had started it, what was noted down by the Pandavas and what was noted down as a starting point by the Kauravas differed with 2.5 hours. So the ending point also differed by 2.5 hours. Pandavas revealed themselves according to what they had understood as in a 13th year, at the end of 13th year. And the Kauravas said that, they found the Pandavas with how many hours to spare? Can you imagine a nice spy movie with last 2.5 hours? What do you call, there is a movie, right? No. There's some 24 hours. 24, right? It's a show. So what happens in that nick of that moment, in that 24 hours, how does it build in multiple angles? Something like that, last 2.5 hours. And they're tracked, and the Kauravas say, we don't need to give you back your kingdom. Go back and continue your 12 years. After the 13th year, we will come back. Bhagavan Krishna is sent as an ambassador, asking, we don't want the entire kingdom, at least give us 5 villages, if not 5 cities, at least 5 villages. and Duryodhana refuses. Instead, he plans to kill Bhagavan Krishna himself. And understanding their plot, he escapes and they announce the war. Who are the one who were victimizers? Who was victimizing whom? Kauravas were the victimizers. Who were the victims? Pandavas were the victims. Through these 12 years of dwelling in forest, Arjuna was the only one who knew very clearly that the Kauravas are not trustworthy. They may pull something like this at the end, which would end up in challenging them in a war. So through 12 years, when rest of the brothers, Kunti Devi and Draupadi, were going through different dwellings in the forest, Arjuna was the only one who was constantly looking out for various opportunities to acquire what would be called today as the WMD. Weapons of mass destruction. Pashupatastra, Agni Astra. He had acquired a lot of them. Why was he acquiring all of these? How many of you are dancers here? Wow, 3 hands up. Anybody else with singing instruments, music? Yeah, you play drums, right? Percussions. Guitar? Little bit. Guitar and vocals. Nobody else? What do you do? Anybody else? A lot of talented people into dance, music. So you go to these houses where they have spent their childhood learning these skill sets. So in the living room, you will see one side of the wall, different stages of photographs of their receiving awards or performance. That's one side is award ceremonies, the other side is performances. And on the other wall, you have the trophies displayed. And right in the middle, say supposing you are a guitar player or a veena player, you will have the main instrument in acrylic casing displayed in the main living room. Just to display it and tell that. And I also learned, if you are a dancer probably, what do you call your, it's not bells, what do you call it? I know payal is one word. Okay, Bharatanatyam is Chalang. Gajjalu is Telugu. There's one more. You know, they wear it on their legs. Gunguru for Kathak. You get the idea, right? So that's there displayed with all the trophies. Was Arjuna planning for one such? That after 13 years I'll have my own palace. Then I'll have all these different astra and shastra that I have acquired. I can display in the main living room, saying that I also have such weapons. Was he not preparing for this day on the battlefield? If he was preparing for 14 years for this very day to face his cousins on the battlefield, did he not realize, did he not know that he was preparing for this inevitability? Then what happened? That on the first day of the war, that Arjuna suddenly breaks down completely. He is a psychological disaster. which is what relates Bhagavad Gita to our day-to-day life. At every intersection of life, we have the freedom of choice. Do we? Yes or no? Some kind of a response. You staring at me doesn't give me. So do you have a freedom of choice? Many of us misunderstand that freedom of choice does not mean freedom of choosing what experiences that I can go through. That is not the freedom. The experiences that I have to go through are rather inevitable. But that inevitability, how do I choose to go through? That is my choice. So I've introduced two concepts here. Hinduism is not a believer in fatalistic view. Because those who believe in this fate, they talk about one half of the principle which the Hindus speak. And that one half is whatever happens, nothing is in our hands. It is already predestined and we just have to go through it forcefully. This is the fatalistic view. There is no will, there is no willpower, there is no freedom, there is no freedom of choice. You just have to lead your life choiceless from one experience to the other as the experiences unfold, because that is your destiny. That is your fate. And if you have learned a little bit of Vedanta and Sanskrit, probably they will change that fate word into prarabdha. If I throw something at you, what will you do? Get out of the way. Throw it back. What else? Catch it. So get out of the way, throw it back, catch it. Oh, let it hit you. Swamiji Prasad. Okay, I see. One kid gave me the best answer. The kids say the most amazing things, unbelievable. So one class I asked, if I throw something at you, what will you do? So the kid gives me an amazing answer. He says, it depends on what you throw. If it is something that is useful to me, probably I'll keep it. If it is not, I'll throw it back at you. The most user-friendly answer ever I have received. Did we discuss this before? Just letting you know that this was not planned. Did you know that it was coming towards you? I also did not know that it will come to you. By the way, it is not mine. Life comes at us like that. It does not give us the luxury of an announcement that, hey, I am going to come at this time on this day, please be ready. Does it give us an opportunity of an intimation beforehand? It doesn't. It just comes. As it comes, the ability to respond to that situation is called response ability. responsibility. The ability to respond to that situation. But many of us, when we see our own life, what is our reaction? Most of our reaction is, we behave as if I am going through somebody else's life. This ain't my life. I don't agree. I don't like this. You go to a restaurant. You study through their menu card. What do you call it? An a la carte? A la carte? Did I say it right? A la carte. So you go through their extensive menu card, and some of them have like a thick booklet. So you go through and finally identify what you want. This is about 25, 26 years ago. First time I had pocket full of money. And it had been my desire to indulge myself with a high-end restaurant food. I was probably in my 8th or 9th grade. I wanted to enjoy something, something unique. So I go into this restaurant which, going to school, coming back from school, I would see it daily. Never had the opportunity to get in. And did not have the courage to speak to my parents about it. Because they would say, whatever dal, sabji, roti is being given, that is more than enough for you. So on my birthday or wherever, I saved enough. I said, this time I am going to splurge myself into this restaurant. So I go there. I have no clue. This is my first time getting in. Probably when you see somebody fresh from India, you call them, right? What do you call them? Fresh of the boat. So I was like that, entering into that restaurant. I sat there and he gave me a menu card. Elderly gentleman, he was the waiter there. He looked at me amused. He gave me a menu card and I looked at it. And I was flipping through. And I was reading those things and names of it for the first time. I had no clue what it was, or what to order, how to order. Because you have to learn the art of ordering also, right? Like say you go to Starbucks. You get so... It's funny. Because you are with the mindset that you want something small. Okay. So you said one small glass of coffee, a cup of coffee. They said there is no small. What is that big? Tall. No, short. And if you change the sequence, they will be confused. Have you ever seen this? In this country, it's so easy to topple off people who have such an accustomed routine. You go to a restaurant and ask for 1 glass of water. Say this exact sentence. 1 glass of water without ice with 1 piece of lemon, please. They say, come again, what? Because you have to give them the keywords. You have said something much more than their keywords, you will be lost. They will be lost. What should you say? Water, no ice, with lemon. And if you say that much, that is sufficient. You change the sequence, they'll scratch their head. So you go to the Starbucks and you have to rattle it out in the same order, right? How you order is also an art that you have to learn. Now you're going for the first time. And first time my experience, going to Starbucks 12 years ago. I like the smell of it. When I used to go to the grocery stores, I used to like the smell of it. I got in and got through the hoops of understanding short and tall, and it's only later that I realized tall, grande, venti all means big in different languages. So extra hot, and they have like a whole chart full of things that I finally managed to say something. And the lady across asked me this question. And for years, I mean, that's where our friendship really flourished. So she said, for here to go. Imagine, I just came from India. I just landed in 2 months into this place. And somebody says, somebody asks you for here to go. And that too with that nasal twang, a Texan accent. Here to go. Come again? What? Frustrated the 4th time that I asked. That lady says, look, for here to go. Still didn't make sense. What exactly is she trying to say? And I looked at her and sympathized with her, because she has to deal with me. Sympathized with her, and I finally mustered up to say, look, I'll have it here and then go. Because until then I didn't understand what she was trying to say. Is she asking me to leave? Is she asking me to quit? Is she frustrated with me? She doesn't want to serve me? Finally I said, I'll have it here and then go. She seemed happy. Okay, thank goodness. So you should know how to order. So I sat with the menu card and did not understand anything there. So when you don't know, you want to start imitating, right? So there was a table with 4 or 5 people, and they had already ordered something, and they were ordering something extra. So the guy looked at the menu list and he said, Malai Kofta. Yeah, that's the first time I am reading it on the menu card. So I quickly search where exactly is it. So I find that place. Under the entrees, I find Malai Kofta. Because somebody else ordered it. I just overheard that. So I called the waiter and I said, this one. Malai something. He said, Malai Kofta, sir? Yes. What would you have with it? I looked at him and said, that's enough. Because the others did not order anything beyond that. How would I know what to order with it? I said, just bring that. He said, are you sure? He was an elderly man and he was looking, he probably knew right away. First timer. This kid is a first timer here and he doesn't have a clue what he is ordering. So he said, are you sure again? So I looked very confident. So he went, he brought that Malai Kofta after 15 minutes, placed it in front of me, and he stood there amused. And I looked at him and I said, and quizzically I looked at him and I said, how does one eat this? So he looked at me again and he said, do you mind if I explain? I said, oh please. Shamelessly I opened myself up and I said, please explain. I said, these are the entrees, these are the things, this goes with this. That was my guru. My first restaurant guru. You should know what to order. Having ordered what you have ordered, whether consciously ordered or unconsciously ordered, you cannot blame the one who is delivering it, saying, what the heck is this? I don't even know what this is. But what is that waiter going to tell you? I did not bring it out of my whimsical pattern, but I got it because you ordered it. Right? Whether you understand it or not, whatever you have ordered is been delivered. Many of us in life, not realizing the impact of this present moment, how it would come back to bite us at a later time, at a later event. We do things, act, react, respond to various situations, and they culminate to bring a result which probably I don't want. I don't want to indulge in, I don't want to go through. And at that time, to cry foul and to feel, to behave as if it is not my life. And then cry. And that's the amazing thing. Many of us go through that. What is the foul cry? Why am I going through this? Why me? Have you ever questioned that in your life? Why me? There are 3 words, and it explains clearly 3 stages of life. How you use these 3 words. When you are a kid, how do you understand somebody is a kid? When they ask these 3 words in this particular sequence. By the time they get ability to speak, they would want to learn everything and about everything. So they constantly question. What is their question? Tell me why. And some of their questions of tell me why don't have answers. Why is grass green? That is green. Why is sky blue? That is blue. Why is blood red? Because there is red blood. Why is the red blood cells red? It is red, therefore it is called red blood cells. Have you ever seen these kids in the grocery store? They sit in that cart facing the mother. And I'm glad when I look at that combination there, that I am where I am. So glad. I wouldn't have the patience to answer that kid. Mommy, why? And you have to answer that kid right then, right. Tell me why. That's the first stage. Then there's the child. The same child grows up getting this attitude called acharyas. Do you know what is acharyas attitude? I know everything already. You don't need to tell me anything. So this father finds the child, he is little bouncing off the track. So he clears his throat. And these kids, the teenagers, they're living in their parents' house. And the parents have to seek their permission to get into their room. Have you seen those 10 commandments? Thou shalt not enter my room without knocking. I'm not making this up. I have seen this on the teenagers. You think my room had just had a tornado? My room looks better. Sometimes it looks worse than this. Second commandment. It's meaning don't comment on my room. And it's conditional. So the father knocks on the door. He said, son. And the son says, yeah, you may come in. And the father says, I think I need to speak to you about life. And the son does not even, pick his head off his screen that he is glued into. He says, grab a chair, Dad. What's your problem? And the attitude is, I don't have any problem or issues. If you have any problems, I have solutions. Because I know everything already. So the same 3 words is a teenager. What is their 3 words? Why? Tell me. The first stage was, tell me why. The second stage, why tell me? I know everything. And when is it that you understand that you have become an adult? When we start asking the same 3 words in a different sequence. Exactly. At every corner, every intersection of life, we demand, tell, why me? Why is this happening to me? Why me? And whenever we ask this why, it does not reflect intelligence. It does not reflect wisdom. It shows how otherwise we are. Because we have started something consciously or unconsciously, and when the results start coming in, and at that time, at that mindset, if I do not like it, I react to it saying, why is this happening to me? Who is the only triggering point, active triggering point who has started what they have started or what they are experiencing today? Let's take this setup, this environment as an example. Who invited you here? Facebook. Who invited you here? Prabhat. Who invited you here, Prabhat? Oh, did I? Okay. Who invited you here? Come on, man.
You invited yourself. I don't want to be ungrateful.
Who invited you? Oh. Who invited you? Siddharth. Whoever invited you. Did you consciously make a decision to be here? Or is this a mistake? Once I asked this question and I said, I'm yet to finalize. I yet to decide about that. You continue, I'll let you know by the end of it. Is this an accident? There are no accidents in life. There are only incidents. Accidents are those that which we have forgotten as to what led us to that point. So there is not a single moment that we go through, however good, however painful, however miserable, that we go through because of pure, sheer mistake. Karma, as much as science is true to its word, every action has equal and opposite reaction. So if you have performed an action, nobody else gets the result. You alone will get the result. Nobody else can snatch your result. You alone will get your result. It can be delayed, but you alone will be getting your result. How many of you have studied for being a doctor? Or studying to be a doctor? Either or. How many? Just 4 of you. At the end of your, 10-year torture. 10 years it takes, right? So at the end of your 10 years, do you suddenly become a lawyer? Am I making sense at all? How many of you are engineers? Wow, 1. What field? Petroleum. So how many years did you spend? 4 undergrad, 2 masters. At the end of your 6th year, did you suddenly become a CPA? When you're putting effort towards a direction consciously, at the end of it, what you're getting is not a mistake, is not an accident. It is exactly worth what you have put effort for. Not an ounce extra, not an ounce less. And to talk about the results of it, the last part of Jesus' life is called Passions. Passions of Christ. There's one famous episode, a famous dialogue, wherein he says, after he has been crucified, after he has been whipped, after he has been crucified, after he has been punctured, test if he is alive or not. Then he turns heavenwardly and he says, Lord, do you remember the statement? What is the statement? Forgive them, for they know not what they have done. And then the extension is more important. And the extended part of it is, he says, what has happened unto me is only through them and not by them. Do you get the import of the message? It is not by them. It appears as if they intended to do this to me. But in the totality of things, on a zoomed out glimpse at my own life, it is not they who are responsible. It is only through them. They are the messenger. And when they come to you for judgment, do not punish them for what happened through them unto me, because they are just the messengers. So please forgive them. Do you understand what kind of magnanimity it requires? To think about the others who have persecuted you and understand the principle of Vedanta at that point, that is just happening to me through them, not by them. See, the entire cosmos is an active matrix trying to give exactly what I deserve at different intersections of life, directly proportional to what I have done. At that time when I have to face it, if I go through Arjuna's mindset, that he has to take that responsibility, and while he has to fulfill that responsibility, that which he is preparing for, that which he knows is inevitable, right? And then he cries foul, saying that, I don't know, I think the best thing is to run away. That is exactly what we do when we face our responsibilities. I have not come across anybody who I have seen facing their responsibilities says, good, tomorrow is Monday, I am looking forward for my new job. Heck, I don't know, hard, it's Monday again. What do you call it? Monday blues. It's not even Tuesday, and what do you expect? I wish it was a TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. Even at home, while you're growing up, a simple task. Can you get me a glass of water? Asks the father or mother. What does the child say? Why should I bring every time? Go ask brother. See? What's that?
I said that's me, right?
No comments. The point that I'm trying to make is, whenever responsibility stares at us, we try to avoid it as if we are facing someone else's life. And the best response that usually we give is first shy away, run away, negate, avoid, postpone. And then when finally the inevitability is staring at us with the pressure of time, then we somehow succumb to that moment and fulfill it. It has been the story of our life. We know at the end of the year we have to give exams. We have to sit in through those exams. When do you start preparing for it? Though you do get, growing up in a UPS family. Do you know UPS family? What can Brown do for you? So we the Brown, the UPS family. Desi family. What is the main contention? Grades. Study well. And how much should be your grades? What are you talking? GPA, right? Or GPS? GPA, GPA, nothing less than 4.0. And sometimes you are taking IB and so you have to ace it, because people are having 4.8, 4.5. I don't know, the different school systems have different things. Where I come from, it's called Plano. There it is still 4.5, 4.8 system. The different schools may have different systems. And you miss it by a point and then still you are not a valedictorian. Too bad. And that's the focus. So you know that that's the pressure. When do you really start studying? Average. When do you start studying? Wow. Weekend before is quite studious. Don't tell this to anybody. Okay? What happens here stays here. That's okay. You don't share this. There was an exam, a couple of exams that I goofed off. And one particular exam that I was in, I missed the weekends to prepare for it. So I really struggled studying through the night, all-nighter. So I reached early and I was sitting in the front fountain area. It had a little garden. And suddenly woke up and everybody was going out. So I studied all night, went into the school where I had to give my exam and fell asleep. I missed that entire exam, all-nighter. Most of us prepare 1 or 2 days before. Though you know, and then we start commenting, we start making a weird observation. And what is a weird observation? I seem to work amazingly great under pressure. Dumb, dumber, dumbest. If under pressure this is the X amount of result, a conscious effort of preparing well should lead to amazing results. But whenever there is a responsibility, there seems to be an overwhelming deal of slacking around, to run away. And that's exactly what Arjuna said. Bhagavan Krishna, take the chariot. So Bhagavan thought, chalo, he's ready for the war. He said, no, I need to run away from this war. So every situation becomes a challenge, and whenever the challenge is staring at us, we find the easy solution is to run away. But instead, the message is stand up, understand the situation and cater to that situation, because wherever you run, it is still your life. Can you run away from your own life? It's captured in a very beautiful saying, flower where you are planted. Understand your environment. Grow and glow rather than complain. Even the street lamp pole on the ashram that I live in, Dallas, one day, every morning I go for a jog. So suddenly one day this street lamp started speaking to me. I am not gone cuckoo up here. So the street lamp stopped me. I said, "Hey, Swami." I said, "This fellow is speaking?" I said, "What can I do for you?" He said, "I hear you do a lot of counseling things." I said, "What do you have a problem?" And the lamppost said, "The neighbor next door to you every day comes with his dog for a walk. Do we need to explain it?" I said, "I can't even run away." Everybody has situations in life. How you cater to it, how you prepare to cater to it, that is what decides your success ratio. Finally, I'll conclude before I take questions with an example that I saw which changed my perspective. So I was in a place where there were about 40 kids. This happened in Orlando, long time ago. And we had a camp, and during this camp, the whole day, there's, starting to end, there's a lot of things happening. In the evening, there was, bhajan, sankirtan time. And these are 4th, 5th, 6th graders in the camp. So they are a very fidgety kind of group. Even if there is a bhajan, you have to pep it up with a nice tune to it so that they get involved, dragged into it. So this lady, volunteer, sometimes you have to be very picky as to how you choose the volunteers. I learnt it from there. So this lady, she volunteered. She said, "I'll take care of the bhajan session." I said, "Okay, welcome." So she comes and, she first takes out her shruti box. She adjusts that, then takes out her harmonium, adjusts her shruti. And then she starts. And by this time, 3-4 minutes of vacuum, nothing happening. The kids start pulling each other's hair, doing this, doing that. And then she starts. Of all things, what does she start? Prema mudita manase kaho. The same bhajan can be sung in a little different speed. Prema mudita manase kaho Rama Rama Ram. The kids also will feel like jumping in. This is like, turning them off. Prema mudita manase kaho Rama Rama Ram. Shri Rama Rama Ram. It's a long song. And with that speed, with already you have lost the patience of the kids. But there was this kid sitting right in front of me. Every so often, he would giggle to himself. I'm like, what mischief is this kid up to? So I just, I shift myself and lean around, look at that kid, and what he did, or how he was handling that situation, changed my entire perspective. What he was doing was, from the carpet, he pulled out a thread and nicely twanged it together. And then took his foot up, put it on his lap, removed his socks, took this thread, and every so often would tickle himself. So he would go from this corner to that corner, very patiently holding on to something. I thought in my head, this kid has understood the meaning of stress management technique. When life throws a curveball at you, if you can handle that, you can handle anything else in life. Because he knew his parents were volunteers. All these swamis and acharyas were sitting, and they're like, trapped scapegoats. He had no choice to run away from that situation. So when inevitability stares at you, don't drag in yourself through inevitability, but entertain yourself. What a beautiful sutra that he had learned. And not that he was not paying attention. Okay. He turns, that was the icing on the cake. So he turns to his friend sitting there, and this Amma goes singing. So when she says, Sri Rama Rama Ram, he turns to his friend and says, this goes on and on and on and on and on. So when inevitability, responsibility stares at you, prepare and cater to that situation rather than running away from the situation. The one who has learned how to stand up and face it, face it successfully without running away, owning every single moment that you live by, becomes the inevitable Arjuna, as guided by the Lord Krishna. That is the crux of Bhagavad Gita. After reading Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna did not say, Lord, I got lot of dispassion, vairagya, I'll go to Himalayas, take sannyas. What did he say? Karishya vachanam tava. As you have nicely illustrated here, I now recognize my responsibility, therefore I will fulfill that responsibility. So what is the crux of Bhagavad Gita? To prepare oneself through physical, emotional and intellectual tweaking one's own self, so that I can cater to my own responsibilities with the most efficient solutions with which I grow, and through my growth I benefit the environment that I am living in to the most positive, productive endeavor. Keep this as a bottom line while you are studying Bhagavad Gita, and you will see that most of the critical, difficult shlokas will start answering or catering to your enquiry. What I intended to speak, I stop here. I have done. So there are two kinds of questions. One, which I have triggered during past 1 hour. The confusions which I may have triggered, which may have left like blank spaces, I own the responsibility to clear them. Second, with regards to Bhagavad Gita or Hinduism, that you may have had long time questions which you are seeking answers for quite diligently. If you have any such questions, please ask, and if I know, I'll definitely try answering them. For the rest of you to follow his question, the question has to be understood, because he is referring to something which may or may not have been a common knowledge to many. So the question is born from an Upanishad called Kena Upanishad. And on the CMDFW, the Dallas Chinmaya Mission website, the Kenopanishad talks, I will answer it, but for further study, the Kenopanishad talks of Guruji are already posted, so you can listen to it again. So the first question that the student asks the teacher in that Upanishad is Keneshitam patati preshitam manaha kena prana prathama praiti yuktaha. Who is the mind of the mind, eye of the eye, ear of the ear? Who is it that because of which I can hear, I can see, I can smell, I can taste, I can touch? What is it that enables me to interact with this world? So, let's go through the simple analysis. What is in my hand? Bottle of water. How do you know that it is bottle of water? Your tagging system. Before you get to the tagging system, it's because your eyes are open. Because you can see. There are many of us. How many of you wear glasses? Glasses definitely I can see. Contacts as well. How many of you do not require any contacts or glasses? Wow. No LASIK, right? Okay. So who is left without LASIK and no contacts? Good. No, we are not talking of perfection. Okay. Please, wear some contacts at least. Just for the safety of the rest of us. Just for the safety of rest of us.
In a few years, Swami.
I have no issues. I live in Dallas. Just inform me beforehand when you come to Dallas. I'll be more careful. There is a kid back in Dallas, Sridhar, right? His one eye is -18, the other eye is -21. Seriously flawed eyes. Once I asked him to take off his glasses just to test. I said, I didn't even raise my fingers. You know, usually you ask, right, how much is this? So I didn't even raise my fingers. I asked him, how much is this? So he says, you are a handsome blob of orange. He cannot see. His eyes were open, but his eyes did not have the capacity to see. They had to be rectified, they had to be corrected. So he put on the glasses. So you have to wear the glasses, and the glasses, through the glasses, you have to perceive through the eyes. So the eyes are perceiving through the glasses to see. Right? Sometimes we observe that you have the right set of apparatus, you have the eyes open, but the one who has to be seeing through those eyes is not present there. Does it happen? There's something burning issue in your office or wherever it is, and you're sitting and you're conscious. There's something going on inside. Has it ever happened that somebody is like, thinking very vigorously in their head, and you think that they're talking to you? You end up answering something, can I help you? And they are totally lost in their thought, and finally you tap their, what? They come back. Their eyes are open. See, when I reached the ashram, again, don't tell this to anybody. When I went to the ashram, it was directly from college into the ashram. Never had the habit of first sitting. That's legs crossed. The first thing is to sit was a problem. Sit through the entire day, morning 5 to evening 10:30. Lectures and satsangs and discussions and By the time it would be 3 o'clock, that would be my condition. My eyes would turn off. Like, I had no capacity to continue further. So we were, Guruji who was teaching us, he called us out. And we felt really ashamed, in front of everybody we were called. Then a few of us, we developed the art. Don't tell this to anybody. Open eye sleeping. We would have the lectern or whatever desk that we had, and we would see directly at Guruji. Keep the eyes open, a nice beautiful smile, and then off. And he must have seen like us plenty. So one day, as the class was going on, I had to turn off with my eyes open. So he got off his chair, stands next to me, taps on my head. He said, "Don't pull this one again." So what was happening there was, the eyes were open. Okay. Luckily, I don't need a set of glasses. Okay. Eyes were open. They were functional. But the one who was recognizing behind those eyes was not available. So you need a right apparatus, eyes, and behind the eyes there is somebody processing it. That is called the mind. Now sometimes the mind is also available. It is trying to grasp something very subtle, but the intellect is overloaded. You understand that you have understood nothing. Have you ever been in such situation? And there was one of these beautiful compliments that I ever got. Swamiji, आपका लेक्चर बहुत बढ़िया है पर कुछ समझ में नहीं आया. Your lecture was amazing, but it made no sense to me. That's a translation. The intellect is on an overload, and you're trying to grasp. You hear everything. The only thing that you know is you have not known anything. You have not understood anything. There is something which is processing that. Right? So there is eyes, mind, intellect. All of these are enlivened when that spark of consciousness, spark of life enlivens the system. Otherwise, it is just a dead body. So that question which is being asked is asking to get that clarification about that core of being, which we call as self, Swatma. That is the essence or crux of that question in Kenopanishad. Did I get to your question? I can skip through the question saying out of syllabus. But the premise for this is, in Hinduism, our belief is that it is not a universe, but it is a multiverse. Meaning it is not just this plane of cosmos, but there are parallel, it's no more uni, parallel verses. Okay, there are parallel systems. And one of the common words used to describe that is Akhilanda Koti Brahmanda Nayaka, meaning innumerable number of cosmoses you are the lord of. You find that in the Upanishads, you find that in the Vedas, and you find in the Smriti Itihasa Granthas, scriptures. So which means that there is definitely life more than this earth. And Gurudev used to say that alien life is definitely smart and intelligent, more intelligent than the ones living on earth, because we have tried contacting them, but they have avoided us. They don't want to do anything with us. That's his way of poking fun at human beings. But it necessarily means that there are parallel worlds. Now, whether the parallel worlds exist or not, there is the incarnation, reincarnation. So, if the parallel worlds do not exist, then you are reincarnated here. If the parallel worlds exist, of these countless opportunities, that which aptly suits my nature, that is where I would be born. So even in the parallel verses, you should have another thing like earth, wherein you could have been born. And if I get your question, Shafiq, do you own this property here? Okay, do you allow him to be the owner? But the question is, answer the point, no?
Yes, we own the property.
Right? So, another few years or down the lane, you'll have your battalion of Chinku Minku Tinku Pinku. Sorry. I'm saying that you'll have your own children, right? So how many floors does this house have? 3? Oh, 3 plus 1, terrace. Okay. So you own this house, and those who are like your children who will be growing up here, would they have a different set of rule in the terrace? Another set of rule or laws that apply to them on the 3rd floor, 2nd floor and 1st floor? So understand this as one Ishvara, who is the boss of these multiple existences. There is only one rule that will apply. What's that? And have you seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding? The best punchline in that movie was, he thinks he is the head of the family, but he often forgets that I am the neck and I can turn that head anywhere that I want, says the wife. So the experienced old husband sitting in one of my classes hears this and he says, Swamiji, you don't understand, that is where it hurts the most. Pain in the neck. So I did not ask who is the head of this family. That is between you both. I don't want to come in between there. If you understand the crux of the scriptures, what is defined as negative and positive, I mean, that's one level to say that lust, anger, greed, jealousy are negative. Okay. Absence of this is positive. That's one way of defining it. I call that a gross way of defining it. A subtler way of defining it through Vedanta is, in order to understand that subtle standpoint, knife, is it good or bad? It's not a trick question, it's a very simple question. What's that? Don't change my question. My question is, knife, is it good or bad? It's neither. Both is not, you cannot predict that either. Knife as such is neither good nor bad. Goodness and badness is a perspective. If there is a toddler running towards a knife, what will you do? You look at the toddler and see, not mine. What would you do? Stop what? Whichever is closer, you'll pick that up. If the child is close by, you'll pick the child. If the knife is close by, you'll pick the knife. The same knife, if it is in a mother's hand, she'll make a delicious meal for the family. The same knife in a angry wife's hand is dangerous. The same knife in a doctor's hands can be a blessing. Knife as such is neither good nor bad. Right? Emotions as such are neither good nor bad. Anger, is it good or bad? That is the subtlety that I am trying to talk about. It is neither good nor bad. Either you are used by it or you use it. Let me complete it. And then I'll let you argue. No, I'm not trying to be flippant. Let me just have that moment to complete the thought. There was in the scriptures, in the Puranas, there is this character called Durvas. And this Durvas is known to be a very volatile, angry personality. So many people who rush through this Purana, they get confused. On one side you say that you have to win over your anger to become a sadhu, to become a noble-hearted one. And here is this who is worshipped as a sadhu and he does not have a control over his anger. What kind of a sadhu is he? But the point is, do not judge his anger, but instead see the result. On whosoever he has showered his anger on, the end result was that that individual had darshan, had the vision, had the interaction with nothing less than the Lord. If someone's anger ushers me to have a one-on-one dialogue with the Lord of this creation, is that anger good or bad? Am I presenting my case? In fact, after I understood this standpoint, I am still searching for that sadhu whom I can mess around with, because of whose anger I can have darshan of Bhagavan. I am not joking. If that is a easy visa, easy pass to Lord, why not? When somebody gets angry and I get darshan of the Lord, a little tough in between, but fine, I am ready for it. Okay, first point. Second, in Bhagavad Mahapurana, in the 7th canto, which talks about Prahlada's life, there is this beautiful statement wherein it says, Kenapi bhavena manaha krishne niveshayet. It does not matter what kind of emotion that you use, but as long as that emotion takes you to the Lord, there is nothing wrong in using that emotion. Did you know that Kamsa, technically Kamsa was a bad person or a good person? What? Initially to the end he was bad. Because he was such an evil-minded person that constantly created trouble for every human being. But then, the surprising thing is, he gets moksha. His soul finally merges into the Lord. Shishupala and Dantavakra. Have you heard of those names? In their first janma, they were Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha. Second janma, they were Ravana and Kumbhakarna. And the third incarnation, they were Shishupala and Dantavakra. And both of them passionately envied Lord, filled with jealousy against the Lord. In fact, every time there was an interaction between Shishupala and Bhagavan Krishna, Shishupala chose the choicest cuss words in scolding the Lord. And he was his cousin. Shishupala was his cousin. And Bhagavan Krishna had promised to Shishupala's mother that day in one sitting, when they complete 100 cuss words, he would take action on Shishupala and Dantavakra. Bhagavan still gave them a long rope. He did not say cumulative 100, that I'll keep counting, 5 done. No, in one sitting 100 cuss words. And in one such interaction, Bhagavan warns, he says 90, 95. And they complete their 100. And Bhagavan kills them both, annihilates them. And both their souls come and merge back into the Lord. So Kamsa out of fear, Shishupala and Dantavakra out of jealousy. But what was Kamsa afraid of? His fear was so pure, uncontaminated fear. Fearful of the Lord. Jealousy about the Lord. So if that emotion can be used to tune towards the Lord, it will give us moksha. But between bhakti and these emotions, though pure, will lead, meaning the negative, so-called negative, will lead us to the Lord. The path is very painful. Bhakti, the path is very enjoyable. Which one would you want to choose? Because at the net result, at the end of the day, it does not matter if it is Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsara. Are you in their grip? Or is it in your grip? That is what matters. Even the goodness has to be under your accessible control rather than you be under its control. There's this famous story that there was a heart patient. He had a heart attack and he was admitted in ER. And his friend was a cardiologist, right? Heart specialist? Cardiologist. And his wife, the patient's wife, realized that he won the lotto. He won 36 million. So she comes running and seeing her beaming, the doctor, the patient's friend doctor, he says, "What are you so happy about?" He said, "My husband just won the lotto ticket." He said, "Thank goodness I got you in time. Because if you went inside and gave this news, probably with his weak heart, he would not be able to take this news. I'll handle this." So he goes inside and talks about his loans, his debts, and this operation and things. How is he going to pay? And then he slides in the information. What if you won a lotto ticket? Big, 36 million. So this patient did not know that he had really won this. So he very casually, innocently says, "I'll give you half of it." And the doctor drops dead. Because he cannot take, for him it was reality. And suddenly he is not able to handle the pressure of good news. Whether it be good news or bad news, are you in that balance wherein you can handle both? So first, to get out of the bad is why we brand it as negative. Whether it is negative or positive, are you in that balance wherein both do not impact you? The reason, another example, the final one. Do you wash your clothes? Describe the process. Little more details, please.
Why are you looking at me?
You are the next married one. So tell me.
You go to the hamper, you get the dirty clothes.
And then?
You put it in the machine. Before you have to separate the whites and the delicates and the colors.
Good. Well trained.
You start the machine, you put the clothes in, you put the detergent, the fabric softener, you make it white.
Okay.
You tune the setting. You start.
So you take the dirty clothes, add into the appropriate settings, add the detergent, right? Why are you adding the detergent? No trick question, a simple question. To remove the dirt. Dirt is a dirty part of the cloth, not a part of the natural part of the cloth. You add the soap to remove the dirt. So after the dirt has been weakened by the soap, do you dry the cloth and wear it? What do? You rinse the cloth. You rinse the cloth to get rid of both dirt and the soap, dirt and the cleaning agent. Vikara. Vikara is negativity. Samskara is the soap. So, finally when it comes, both Vikara and Samskara have to be washed to get the pure cloth. So, don't give extra emphasis to negative as negative or positive to positive. The goal should be to not just be good and avoid being bad, but to transcend both goodness and badness to experience divine. Because goodness and badness is only perspective of the individual. What is good for one need not be good for the other. What is bad for one need not be bad for the other. It's just a perspective. What spiritual focus is to attain to that divinity. And divinity is beyond goodness and badness. Sometimes when you are responsible towards somebody and that somebody is in such a dumb-witted, spaced out zone, not that they are constantly dumb-witted, in that moment they are. And to reach out to such dense-headedness, to spark them out of it, you jolt them with your anger, knowing that you are using it for them to be pulled out of that. Is that anger and the display of anger, is it good or bad?
In that case, it's good.
So, the application of anger. Now, Shishupal and Dantavakra's example given, they were purely jealous. In their jealousy, they would constantly think of the Lord. Are you seeing what I'm... Yeah, so they constantly were thinking about scheming and their schemes were in and around the Lord. So their constant thought was about the Lord, though the instigating factor was jealousy. Instead of being jealous with the world of material, that they have such kind of wealth, such kind of car, such kind of assets. It's not a healthy thing, but if at all you have to compare about their spiritual evolution.
So like a practical example would be like jealousy. Like in a mission setting. Someone feeling jealous about somebody else getting an opportunity.
It's not about opportunity. Supposing you are able to spend about say 40 minutes, 45 minutes to do your meditation every day. And I'm not able to. To inspire yourself, you feel jealous, and that fellow has 45 minutes, why am I not having it? Using it on a healthier platform. Just so that you can compute it in your sense. I'm just putting it in a perspective. Why is there so much of insistence on that?
Yeah, why take a path that doesn't even offer the purpose?
The reason is, unless you grow out of this negative impact, that the influence of it, unless you grow out of it, you will not be in a condition to inculcate and increase your positive traits. Through the positive traits, you need to jump beyond both positivity and negativity. Have you seen a pole vault? So you use the pole to jump across the vault, the barrier. So the pole is like that good quality. The negativity is like the lethargy and inertia in that particular case. So you run, hit that pole into that designated area, and you lift yourself up. Having gone there, you cannot keep holding on to it. You have to let go of that as well, and then cross the barrier and land on the other side. Can you cross the road, this road here? Jackson Hill. This road, from this side to that side, can you cross? Has anybody crossed a freeway like 59? 59 or 159? From this side to that side. Walked. Wow. Why? Okay. That is when I realized I was caught in 35 near Dallas. The back tire burst. We were 5 people inside. The leftmost lane there was no shoulder. So, and there was long traffic, so I couldn't move my car out into the shoulder. That's when I realized wearing this bright clothes is the most beneficial thing in US. I got out and people avoided the entire lane from a mile away. At that time I was wearing yellow, not orange. Saving grace. The point is, you can cross this easily and not the freeway easily. Right? Our mind, with all these negative impacts, is like that freeway with such traffic that we don't have a control over it. The negative, have the control over it so that you can grow out of it. Inculcate the positive so that you can flush the negativities out. Once you inculcate that positive, it is easier to transcend. It's like crossing Jackson Hill. We can transcend the patterns and reach to the highest. That is the idea. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.